Hey, what's up guys? Jason here. Free pouring is one of the most basic skills that you need to have as a bartender. Each of those little pour spouts that are on top of a bottle, they're manufactured to pour at a specific speed. So you just count, and bartenders can count and they know exactly how much is going into a drink. And each one of those counts is 1/4 of an ounce. Free pouring is very, very simple. In a minute here, we're gonna go over to the store and I'm gonna show you where you can get a little pour spout and then how you can get some empty bottles, put the little pour spout in there and start pouring with water. And in just 5 minutes, you can figure out how to do this. So places you can get these, basically anywhere that sells alcohol and it's a big store. If you have Bevmo, Beverages and More, anywhere near you, Bevmo sells a lot of these things. You can go to liquor stores, you can go to a lot of grocery stores, party supply stores. Smart and Final is a good one. Make sure if you go to Smart and Final, you don't go to Smart and Final Express. You need to go to the regular Smart and Final. Restaurant supply stores are also a really good place that you can get these things. So you can have all kinds of options. Let's head on over there. We're on our way to the store. We're headed over to the Smart and Final right now. Let's go see what we can find. All right, so I had to bail out from Smart and Final. They had pour spouts, but they were just really cheap. And I want to show you some decent ones because generally the bar manager is going to get halfway decent pour spouts. They're usually, still made of plastic, but they pour pretty good. So we're going to go over to the Bevmo over here and go see what they have. Let's try a look at Bevmo. All right, here we go. So we got all kinds. These are perfect. Cheapo little $4 speed pours. These ones look kind of fancy, but they're not that good. These ones down here are cool, but they have little ball bearings in there, so they stop. And I'll grab one of these just to show you what this thing pours like as well. This can help you get your count down. But these would be great for figuring out how to get just all sorts of counts. You need to get 4 counts, 6 count, 8 counts, whatever. Okay, so let's go back and play with these. Okay, so back, and we've made our mission to Bevmo to get some pour spouts, and I just want to show you now how you can free pour drinks just like all the bartenders that you see on a busy shift without having to use shot glasses or pour counters. So, just take a little shot glasses, take a little pour spouts out of here that we got, and remember I got 2 of them. We got one that counts just so you can see kind of how it counts into a 1 ounce marked glass, and then I got some speed pourers. These are more likely the ones that you're going to be using in your bar. So open these things up, and I need 2 because I got 2 bottles. So this is the one that has ball bearings in here, and what it is when you turn the bottle over, these ball bearings will glug down and it'll stop automatically at 1 ounce. So it kind of sucks, but bar managers like to use them. It's just a way for them to control their liquor count. Hopefully you don't have these in your bar, but just in case, got one of these. This is your kind of just standard pour spout. They're not usually really cool, pretty pink like this, but this is one that just free pours, and you can count however much you need. Now with the bottles, these are just bottles that I saved. You can, like I said, have a couple people come over and save some bottles, or you can just go dumpster diving. I mean, you can go behind a bar or restaurant where they throw all their glassware out, and you can just go grab a couple bottles. And if you feel sketched out, you want to feel like a bum digging around in somebody's glass, then just ask the manager. Just go and go, hey, you guys got some empty bottles that I could borrow? They probably got a whole bin of them that they haven't even taken out yet. Now I got a 1 liter size bottle and then a 750 milliliter size bottle. Doesn't matter which one you use. The tops are exactly the same, but you want to use one of these. Either a 1 liter, which would probably be preferable because these are the sizes that you have in a bar as a 1 liter bottle. And then the 750 milliliter, these are generally the ones that you see in the stores. But the tops on them are the same size. But you got to get one of these. You don't want to go any bigger than the 1 liter because like the Costco or Super Mega Store jumbo size ones, the tops are too big. and these pour spouts aren't going to fit. So either the 1 liter or the 750 milliliter will work, and you could just fill them up with water, because alcohol is mostly water anyway, so it's the exact same consistency. It pours the exact same way. And people go, well, how can you learn pouring with water? Don't you know how to, don't you have to taste the drinks and know what they taste like? It's like, no. When's the last time you saw a bartender make a bunch of drinks and then come down the line like, okay, those are good, send them out, right? You don't get to taste your drinks. You'd be wasted in an hour, and your customers would be pissed that their drink's down a big fat sip. So you have to go on knowing how to just count and know how much you're putting into these things. Now, you probably heard people say, or maybe you haven't, but there's bartenders refer to it as a count. So there's the pour count. And what they're talking about is the pace at which you're counting while you're pouring a bottle of booze. And basically, every single one of those counts, and it's not like 4 seconds. I think that's kind of the misconception, it's 4 seconds. It's actually fast, like 1, 2, 3, 4. And basically, every one of those counts equals 1/4 of an ounce. Because I'm going to show you guys a 4 count, 1 ounce shot. And this is probably what 99% of bartenders do. Every once in a while you go, no, man, a 3 count is a perfect 1 ounce shot. Honestly, you can count however the hell you want. As long as you're accurate, it doesn't matter how the hell you count. But if you're a 3 count, 1 ounce shot guy, then it's like, okay, well, what do you do when you need 1.5 ounces? Right? You go to like 4 and then stop. Whereas with the 4 count, 1 ounce shot, every one of those counts is 1/4 of an ounce. Does that make sense? So 1/4, half, 3/4, 1 ounce. If you have 1.5 ounces, you just tack on 2 more. So 1.5 ounces is a 6 count. 2 ounces, so 4 count and a 4 count, 2 full ounces, 8 count, and so on and so forth. So you can add and subtract ingredients in 1/4 ounce or 1 count increments. And that's how your drinks go up and down, is in 1/4 ounce increments. Most of your drinks are either going to be 1 ounce, 1.5 ounces. Some are 1 3/4 or 2 ounces, but most of them are 1 or 1.5. So 4 count or a 6 count. So now that we got all our stuff here, you could just, like I said, learn with water. So I'm just going to fill these things with water and put these pour spouts on here. And first, I want to start with the ball bearing, just to kind of show you the pace at which these things are counting, because that's pretty much the same one that you're going to use. And this is the shot glass. Now it's kind of hard to see. I'll show my other camera over here. The little line on the glass is 1 ounce. So again, when they have ball bearings, it'll stop at 1 ounce. So here's my shot glass. Pour this in there, click, and it stops right at 1 ounce. Now, this thing pours a little bit slower than some of these. Now, your pour spouts are manufactured to pour at the same speed. They're supposed to pour at the same speed, but as you'll see as you start working, some manufacturers pour a little bit faster or slower than others. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that 4 count, right at that line, 1 ounce. So now that we kind of got a feel for it, let's take this thing off and just go freestyle. Now it's going to be that same 1, 2, 3, 4 count, 1 ounce shot. So what you want to do is get to the point where you can pour this without needing to use a little measuring device. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Pour a couple of those just to get the speed. And when you're pouring these things, you don't have to like have your hands straight up and down. These things pour at an actual angle. Let me show you. If I pour this thing straight up and down, you'll notice that there's a slight angle on it. It's so that you can kind of have it half cocked, but what you want is you want a vertical stream of alcohol, because if it's not, then it's not pouring at the full rate of speed, so your count's going to be off. So vertical stream of alcohol when you're pouring, and the kind of the grip, and you'll work up to 2 bottles, but Your grip is basically hold it kind of like if your hands are out in front of you. Hold your bottles like this and then just rotate. So you just twist your wrist. And people kind of struggle with like getting the feel and they make it harder than it really is. But just grip it and turn it over. And it doesn't have to be straight up and down. So because of the angle of the pour spout, you'll be all right. What you're going to want to do is just practice that a few times. So again, get a shot glass that has a 1 ounce measurement on there and just pour a couple to get your counting down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then once you're comfortable with that, you want to pour into a glass, no ice, that doesn't have any measurements. So you have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then measure into your shot glass, or if you have a jigger, whatever, make sure that you're coming out with your counts right at that line for 1 ounce. So there you go. That's how you count. And remember, every count is 1/4 of an ounce. So as you need to add and subtract amounts, they go in 1/4 ounce increments or counts. Right? So practice that, work on ounce, ounce and a half, and then you can also start to get crazy with 2 ounce pours. Now, after you've got that down, you want to be ambidextrous as a bartender. Your speed as a bartender comes from making a good drink as fast as possible. So all you have to do to be a fast bartender is know your drinks, which we'll talk about that later, and then be able to use 2 hands constantly. So go into a bar that's busy and watch the bartenders. Both of their hands are constantly moving. They never stop moving. So you need to be ambidextrous as a bartender. So after you have your right hand or left hand or whatever, after you have your dominant hand, your 4 count, you want to practice with your non-dominant hand. Strangely enough, it's going to be that same 4 count, 1 ounce shot. So just work with your non-dominant hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pouring 1 ounce shots, measuring those out until you can get to a 1 ounce shot, pouring with your opposite hand. Then, once you have your non-dominant hand, then you want to do double-fisted fury. So you want to do 2 bottles in the same glass to get 1 ounce. Now, because we're using 2 bottles to get 1 ounce, we only need a 1/2 ounce from each bottle, right? Because 1/2 ounce and 1/2 ounce is going to be 1 ounce. So 1/2 ounce is a 2 count. Remember, each count is 1/4 of an ounce. So we're going to do a 2 count out of each of these bottles. 1, 2. And it's a fast 2. It's quicker than you might think. Then pour that in there. Measure out. Just a hair under. So if you're a little bit under, count a little bit slower. If you're over, which normally we will be at first, then count a little bit faster. And 1, 2. Pour that on in there. And there you go. There's your 1 ounce shot. 2 bottles into 1 glass to get 1 ounce. Now the other thing is you'll see sometimes bartenders go like with a Long Island iced tea, a cocktail that has 4 different or sometimes 5 different alcohols, just depending on how they make it at the bar. And you'll see them grab 2 bottles with this hand, and then they'll grab 2 bottles with the other hand and pour them all at the same time. I know it looks really cool and fancy, but unless you have like big ass hands, it's really hard to do. And it's not that much faster because you have to like grab them both and then pour, and then you got to put them all back. So if you got big hands, practice it. So you'd want to open up your hands real wide and put one in between your thumb and your forefinger, and then the second bottle in between your forefinger and your middle finger. And hold them so that you make sure the pour spouts are kind of pointing in the same direction, and just turn it over like that. And then you can practice the same thing with your left hand. And again, your counts are still the same. 1 count equals 1/4 of an ounce. So keep that in mind always. So you don't really have to do this. This is a little bit more of a kind of a showboating maneuver. But if your hands are big enough and strong enough, then go for it. Just be warned that if these things are full and your hands aren't very big and you try to do that, you're going to tweak your freaking fingers. It's going to hurt. So I would concentrate first on 1, 2, and 2 at the same time, and worry about that later. So this will literally take you like 5 minutes to figure out. Really simple. You don't have to go spend $500 at a bartending school to learn how to do this. You can do it right in your own kitchen, in your own house. So real basic. And all these pour spouts, like I said, should pour about the same speed. Your liquors are all going to pour at the same speed. So as soon as you get this down, bam, you'll be pouring like a pro. And that's how bartenders can know exactly how much they're putting into drinks without using a measuring device. Okay, so now you know one of the biggest secrets and one of the just most basic skill sets necessary to be working bartender. All right, so practice that until you get comfortable, and then you'll be ready to rock and roll. Okay, that's it for now. Got lots of stuff to practice. I'll see you next time.